On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, presented by FanDuel, we discussed Mizzou men's basketball's win over Auburn. The Tigers, 3-1, tied for first place in the SEC. Can you believe it? We broke down the performance. We talked. Our clip from it is actually from Wednesday night after the game, so kind of got our raw reaction to everything that went on. Mark Mitchell, Jayden Stone, Trent Pierce. What a development he's been for Mizzou. So I talked about all those guys, all the goods and the bads from another win for the Tigers in SEC play. Kind of came full circle at the end of the show too, because the national media is starting to talk again, and Mizzou's showing up in some bracket projections. I had that as my best thing we learned, so I gave you the goods on that at the end of the show. Kenny and Payton then discussed the latest additions from Mizzou in the transfer portal, the latest happenings, all that stuff. So a good discussion from them. And then me and Kenny did quick hits, had some good jerseys of the week, some good pulls from the old Mizzou football, a few past teams, because the UFL draft just happened and some Mizzou guys got picked up. So that was good. Talked about some Mizzou gymnastics starting the season 4-0. Then I mentioned a little bracketology talk. And we had plenty of NFL. We did our best beats presented by FanDuel for the divisional round. Kenny and Payton, not high on their two teams. I'll do a Seahawks corner if they win. I have no feeling right now. Just nervous. But spoiler alert, did not pick them for my best beat this week. But yeah, great show. So tap in. We'll dive into it right now. The Unwritten Rule starts. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. We'll take it to a quick break and be back with basketball talk.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, January 16th. Hope everyone's having a good Friday. I wonder what the future's like, because we're recording this first part of the show on Wednesday night. Missouri just wrapped up its third win in SEC play. 84-74, the Tigers beat the Auburn Tigers, that is. And man, it's wild. I feel like in any year before this one, this would have been such a massive upset victory with how good Auburn has been over the last couple of seasons, and would have felt like a huge win for Mizzou to knock off one of the premier powers in college basketball. This is far from the same Auburn team. They, of course, don't have the same Pearl. They have Stephen Pearl, but no longer Bruce. Stephen Pearl's still kind of figuring it out. But Mizzou gets a nice win here. I mean, this was an Auburn team fresh off of, we didn't preview this game, but fresh off of a win over Arkansas, a big time win over Arkansas. And they come to Mizzou, Missouri, a favored home team, ends up taking care of business. It got a little shaky there at the end. We'll talk about it, but guys, I want to start with this, something on the defensive end for Missouri. And I'm going to give you guys a date. And that date is March 8th, 2025. Do you guys have any guess what the potential significance of that date could be?
Repeat the date.
March 8th, 2025. We're in 2026 now, Payton. That's not in the future.
Yeah.
Was that the last SEC regular season game last year?
No.
Is it an SEC tournament game?
Has nothing to do with Mizzou. Well, it does in a sense, but not the date specifically.
The last time Auburn shot below 30% from three or something.
No. Any final guesses? I can just tell you.
No.
March 8th, 2025 was the last time that Keyshawn Hall was held to 10 points or less in a game. I was curious about that because he had scored 64 in his last two and has been like probably Auburn's at least make or break player, best player this season. And that was the kind of the first thing that stuck out to me, or one of the first things that sticks out to me with this game, was how well Mizzou did against him. He had a bucket late. He was 2 for 9 of the field. He did grab 9 rebounds, and actually did dish out 7 assists. So he was trying to get others going. But with how much Arkansas and Texas A&M struggled to stop him, Missouri did a really good job. That was one thing I wanted to turn to with this game, and I was curious to see when the last team that really did that to him was, and no one's done it. I mean, that's including Auburn played against Houston. He had 20 points and 11 rebounds in that game. Arkansas, who I mentioned, he scored 32 against them, 28 against NC State, 20 against St. John's. So these are not insignificant teams that he's doing this to, and Missouri shut him down. And I felt like that kind of cut the head off of the snake for Auburn a little bit. So that's where I'm starting.
Yeah, I thought Missouri did just as it has really for a lot of SEC play. I was pretty happy with the defensive effort. They held Auburn to 40% from the field, less than 30% from 3. As many assists as turnovers for Auburn. A lot of that kind of had to do with, I think, how Auburn plays. But I mean, I don't know how you can look at those numbers and not be pretty happy. Also, again, another really solid effort on the boards. Only lost it by 1, 34-33.
15 O boards, not great for Auburn, I will say.
Yeah, O boards were rougher in this one. I'd imagine they really, really had a lot of second chance points as well, but
15.
Yeah, 15, pretty good amount. Overall, I don't know how you could complain about the defensive effort. It really has been much stronger since Illinois. There were a couple rough moments. Like, I didn't think their transition defense was good against Kentucky. Really, nothing went right against Ole Miss for a lot of that game. But this was a Auburn team that coming in was top 30 on Torvik, 35 in the net and on KenPom. So certainly not a nothing team, even though they're now 1-3 in SEC play. I don't think they're near what people maybe were hoping for this year. Tahad Pettiford, I think, has a lot to do with that. It's been a rough go of it for him. But again, a lot of that had to do with Missouri. Like you mentioned, Knowlton, keeping a score like Keyshawn Hall under wraps like that kind of really threw Auburn for a loop, it looked like.
11 turnovers for Auburn too, and 5 of those came from Keyshawn Hall, just to kind of add into those thorns and that overall performance for him. When you get 5 there, and Missouri did have more turnovers, but I think there was something that broadcast kept pointing out that the turnovers for Auburn were a little bit more painful at times. With Pettiford as well, it just kind of speaks to just the poor shooting overall just for this team. 0 for 5 from 3, 3 for 12 from the field. It was just there was a lot of talk just about was he the Big 12 Player of the Year when he was at UCF?
I don't know that he was Big 12 Player of the Year. He was certainly an all Big 12 player.
Yeah,
I mean, he was very good there.
Yeah, so I mean, it was coming over that pedigree, and I think they were still kind of hoping to see that. This is where my mind kind of went to, Payton, when you talk about seeing Auburn at 1-3. I think coming into this game, still you're still on the fence on where's Mizzou going to go in this one. I'm still having a hard time, especially this season, especially when we guys did the game earlier last show about which teams are still undefeated. I'm having an issue with logos right now in the SEC and seeing Auburn and thinking, okay, this game's going to be tighter than it is. And there were stretches in this game where it did get tight. And I think the biggest deficit for Missouri in this one was 7 points. But in that second half, you were really just kind of bordering a 10-point lead most of it until that final 3 minutes. So I think that Auburn logo still kind of confused me, or not confused me, but shocked me in a sense, especially coming off that win against Arkansas. I believe Arkansas was top 15 at the time. So I think I'm still going to have to get over that as we kind of navigate a little bit of a different look in the SEC.
Yeah. I think to harp on the defense thing again, I like what Payton said. I've just been pretty impressed. I think, Auburn didn't seem like a team that was super excited to shoot a lot of threes, and kind of tried to force the issue in the paint early. I think at one point they're outscoring Missouri 10-2 in the paint, which you don't see a lot. I mean, Missouri is, I think, the best percentage wise in terms of what types of shots they get. I think they're number 1 in the SEC in that, in with them coming in the paint. But even when a team starts out like that, if you want to go to a battle inside and just see who scores the most paint points, I'm going to take Missouri in most of those situations, for as shaky as Sean Phillips sometimes is. Like, you have a guy like Mark Mitchell. I'm going to like Missouri in that battle, but that has to also translate defensively too. And I think it has for this team with their rim protection.
I thought there was a good stretch there where they kind of fell into more of a soft zone. They kind of just were like, I guess, guarding the perimeter and just leaving, I guess it was Sean Phillips just in the paint. He was just kind of rotating on each block, and I thought that looked great. I mean, they weren't really allowing anything. There was one like deep three, I forget who it was, with two guys just in his face. It was just one of those shots where, like, I mean, you're not gonna. I forgot who shot it too, but it might have been Overton, I think. But just like two guys in his face, just shot it through them, and I think that was the only like real bad shot that they gave up from beyond the arc.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly liked a lot of the looks. It felt like when they did go into that zone, like you mentioned, Kenny, they really weren't getting a whole ton of open looks against it, which is something I'm so not used to seeing the zone the past 3 years by Missouri. I will say a lot of that maybe has to just do with Dennis having kind of the type of athletes he finally has always really wanted. It feels like they're much just longer, clogging lanes better. It really does also feel like they're just playing more sound defense. Like they're not jumping out of the gym as much. I still feel like they're staying broken down a lot more. They're guarding better than I'm used to. And we'll see. It's been 4 games. We'll see how well that holds up. And again, there have still been moments of weakness in that regard. Ole Miss, for about 20 minutes of that game, was really finding a lot of open looks. But yeah, I think so far, I mean, so good defensively. I don't know if there was kind of a big gut check or just come to Jesus moment about defensively after the Illinois game. But it certainly has looked a lot different in my opinion.
It's funny we're praising it too. I mean, Ken Pom, they're 88th in defensive rating, which is not all that great, but I think it's maybe that's sort of a metrics versus eye test sort of thing. The one thing I'll add too with the paint stuff, like I like the way they've been. Payton, I've tried to pay attention more of it too, and I agree. I think they are flying out a lot less, or like you said, jumping out of the gym a lot less. I think that's been more controlled. I like the way that they're sending help too, especially for guys like Hall. It's not leaving
communication has been a lot better.
Yeah, it's not leaving Sean Phillips on an island or Mark Mitchell or whoever it might be. They send someone else to help, even if it's a guard. And their guards rebound, man. That's been the nice thing. Like we've talked about Teo Barrett's hustle, Ant hustles, Trent Pierce goes and gets boards, and that's a really helpful thing on defense too, because it negates, I guess it didn't as much in this game, but that negates the second chance stuff. All right. Defense is boring, unless your name is Buzz Williams, and rebounding is boring unless your name is Buzz Williams. Let's talk about who takes this game ball for you guys. Is there a Jayden Stone case, or is this Mark Mitchell's game ball tonight?
Allow me to step in and make the case for Trent Pierce.
Okay, I was hoping you would. All right.
Trent Pierce, 6 for 8 from the field, 5 for 7 from deep. We've seen kind of the flashes the past couple of years, particularly last year, of him having just really great, like a good shooter's touch. And he's really, since he's gotten healthy and started playing, I mean, he's been a key offensive cog for them. 18 points. That's pretty crazy. Jayden Stone wound up with 22 because he did not have any in the first 10 minutes, I don't think. Again, can't praise that pickup in the portal enough. Stone has just been a monster. Mitchell, you always know what you're going to get. Really wish he could be better from the free throw line, but could say that about the whole team right now. I really felt like in that early going, when Missouri started, I think it was 1 for 11 from the field. And really, they put Luke Northweather in and played maybe some of the worst basketball you've ever seen. Pierce was kind of the one keeping them afloat for a bit. Mitchell finally picked it up. Stone finally picked it up. Their defense kind of kept them in the game. But to me, it was really Pierce that kind of was coming up with timely threes, even on a couple of those second half runs. Missouri was keeping Auburn at arm's length for most of that half, but Auburn had a few moments where they maybe would string a couple buckets together, but it always felt like Pierce had a very timely 3-pointer. So I won't necessarily say he has to be player of the game, but I want to give Trent Pierce his flowers.
I mean, think about it as well from this point of view, Payton. Or even you. I mean, I think you were pointing it out. Maybe you didn't think he was going to be up to speed, to even play in the SEC. And now he's been a game changer. They don't win these games, these 3 SEC games, without him or Jayden Stone. And we kind of gave out that comp to Marquez Warwick. And the more I was just watching Jayden Stone in this game, he is just worlds better. I mean,
way
I'm
better.
not gonna knock on Marquez Warwick, but the impact is just larger. Like it is the best impact that you could have gotten from a guy who didn't even get to play last season because of an injury. And I mean, if I went like this for the last 3 minutes, I think I'm going to take T.O. Barrett as the kind of I'm going to give him some flowers for this game as well. Payton, 13 points in this one. I know there was, the last 3 minutes with a couple turnovers in the passes, especially in the presses. That can be kind of frustrating. But like you guys were pointing out, it was like Auburn had no idea like what his game was. He's a very aggressive guard. He was driving in the paint. There were probably some times they could have maybe stepped back and didn't take the foul, and they would have. They wouldn't have fouled him. They just let him miss the shot. And you probably wanted to defenestrate him. Is that right?
Oh, Kenny.
What?
Oh man, I couldn't do it, Jack. I was trying to find the word, and I just
butchered it.
Are you trying to word game me right now?
I gave him a word, and I wanted to see if you would either A, say you said that word first, or then later try and use the word, and it could have been the experiment solved. But
Kenny, first of all, I would not try
failed.
to use the word later. Kenny steals my words. When I say behoove, Kenny gets on a behoove. Kenny.
Allegedly.
no.
Let me jump on to the T.O. Barrett point. I still don't know what word you were even trying.
I can reveal it at the end.
Defenestrated.
Defenestrate.
Defenestrated.
Do you know what defenestrate?
I have
what that
no
means?
idea what that means.
It's to throw someone out of a window. That's what it means.
I would not have used that adjective. Is that an
It's a
adjective?
verb.
I'd have to imagine it is. Is
Verb.
it a verb? I guess that is a verb.
Verb.
Yeah, you're right.
Journalist.
On T.O. Barrett, I honestly think you could make the argument this was the best game of his career, usurping that infamous, or rather famous, road Florida game last year where he came in and made a couple really nice passes. Still wasn't perfect. 4 fouls, 4 turnovers. Don't want that from your backup point guard necessarily, but I mean, he did. I think Knowlton kind of put it like he really is, when he gets a lane he likes, he will charge full steam into that. Again, like you said, also Kenny, I think Barrett is an easy guy to kind of get the scout on, but it feels like teams sometimes just don't get it, or he just goes ahead and beats them at their own game anyways, because Barrett is a guy, if you clog a lane when he's driving into it, he's really still not shown the ability to step out and hit shots. I mean, jump shots. I mean, we just haven't seen that from him yet. But I do think Barrett had a very nice game tonight. Defenestrate.
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 Hey, look
You
that one
wanted
up.
to defenestrate him.
No, I didn't.
I didn't really know where to use it, Jack. I was.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's just a big sounding word that has a really funny meaning, which is why I enjoy it. It sounds like it's a really smart word, and then you look it up and you're like, wow. Anyway, so there's not going to be a good the comp I have with T.O. Barrett. There was a soccer player I liked for a really long time named Sadio Mane who reminds me of him in this way, where it's like if T.O. Barrett has no time to think about what he's doing offensively, he's like weirdly a lot better for me. Like if he just sees a lane and he sees lane, go lane, and just attacks it, he does some really nice stuff. And then there's just a couple of times where he gets very, very, I think he just overthinks sometimes. I mean, we even saw it. He turned the ball over twice when Auburn was running that press that, frankly, it wasn't just him. No one seemed like they could handle that for a couple of possessions at the end of the game there. But yeah, I think when he is just reactionary, he does a lot of really, really nice stuff. And I think it's just going to be about him continuing to grow and develop his decision making. Because I think when it happens and it's working, it's nights like tonight where he can give you 10 points off the bench. And then my only other point with Trent Pierce, I was thinking back tonight to what we were talking about after the Illinois game, where we were kind of like, what evidence does Dennis Gates have within his own program about like developing guys over multiple years? He obviously saw what he did with Kobe Brown in one season. We've seen him make, portal additions work and his teams have success, but who has he brought in as a recruit and kind of fostered? And granted, that's a hard thing to do in college basketball, but obviously it's a short sample size so far. We'll see how he keeps panning out, but it looks like Trent Pierce is going to be now kind of the jewel in that crown, so to speak, just with how far it looks like he's come since his freshman season, and some of the holes he's filled in. Because he is a legit big time difference maker for this team in a lot of ways, more than just offensively. And I don't think we were saying that even last season.
I would still say Ant has developed.
He's a great
it kind
one
of
too.
does say a lot more about where that whole team was Ant's freshman year, the 0-18 year. But I know he was, again, very passive night, but he still did have 4 assists, only 2 fouls and 1 turnover. So I do think more good than bad with Ant. You still just want to see him take another step and be more aggressive. Who knows? Maybe when he gets Jason Crow next to him next year, we'll see a step forward, because Jason Crow is definitely going to start next to him next year. But I do agree with you. Pierce so far, again, we have to caveat this with it only being 4 games that he's played this year, but Pierce does look like a completely brand new ball player. And it is a very welcome surprise, because after Illinois, I honestly didn't expect to see him even play this year. And I just didn't expect this team to really be playing for anything. And now we're near the middle of January. It's a whole new feeling around pretty much everything.
I don't know if you guys noticed this too, and I think we saw it, over time. And I think Missouri's posted photos like these before, especially with T.O. Trent Pierce looks the part. I don't know. He looks like an SEC basketball player. Like when he was playing a lot of his freshman year, and it was the same with Ant, they were just so small. Like they just did not. I think there was a lot more focus on the development of the physical side. And I looked it up. He gained 15 pounds over the last 2 years. Trent Pierce did, from the start of his freshman year until now. And I think it's like just a full-on maturity move for him and Ant. We've talked about so much the confidence that Anthony Robinson played with last year when he took that massive leap to become, to put himself on radar of draft analysts as a sophomore after a pretty, up and down. He played the pretty tough. It was a pretty tough freshman year tough season in general, that freshman year for him. And then you come in and they just look more like SEC players now. And I think that's a good place to be in. And you talk about I guess the future too at the guard position with Jason Crow. Did you guys notice that like Sebastian Mack hasn't played or taken a shot since Illinois? Like I thought today was like the big eye opener for me, that he hasn't played since Florida. He hasn't taken a shot since Illinois.
The way this team has won these games is not conducive to how he plays.
There has not been a single second since Florida where I thought to myself, they could really use Sebastian Mack on the floor right now. They find ways to score. I think Stone has kind of been the guy when you just need someone to kind of get you a bucket. Him or Mitchell can be that guy. There's just no role for Mac on the team. I hate to kind of be blunt about it, but he played his way out of the rotation. There's really no other way to put it. I know people point to the Illinois game and say he played well. That game was not ever within reach when he played pretty well. I don't really know why we would ever expect Dennis to really care who played well in a 43-point loss. This is what we've been wanting for a long time, is for Dennis to kind of tighten the leash when it comes to giving out minutes. And he's done that so far. It really was. Randall got 4 minutes and Northweather got 2 minutes. But other than that, it was an 8-man rotation tonight. And even then, only 6 guys played more than 20 minutes. I think that's what you want right now with the way this team is playing. I don't know when they'll get Javon Porter back, but I don't feel the need to throw him back in the rotation right now. Why mess with a good thing?
And I think the last full game Sebastian Mack played, there was no Jayden Stone, there was no Trent Pierce either. I think that probably bites into that as well with the kind of the turnaround of the season. Just keep going with what works. I mean, I think it's pretty simple as that too.
I've got a. Oh, never mind. I thought I had a quality win alert for Mizzou. I was watching the highlights of the Ole Miss Georgia game, and I thought Ole Miss won on a buzzer beater in overtime, but it was Georgia. So
They
Ole
did
Miss
win.
lost.
That was Ole Miss.
Did that say Georgia?
Ole Miss won.
Oh, quality win alert. I read the scoreboard wrong.
It would have probably been better for Missouri to win that, or for Georgia to win that game, with Georgia coming up at home, I believe.
I guess you're right. That's maybe a fair point. Yeah, I think you two I think you two both nailed it. I had that thought about Javon earlier today, Kenny. Almost the exact same thing you had with Mac, where I was like, oh yeah, he hasn't played in forever, and then I forgot it's because he's been injured and not necessarily frozen out. But Payton, can I tip the scales all the way? Remember, I said to you last time that my overreaction from Ole Miss was that this team needs Ant to function, and it's kind of going to hinge on how he does. I feel like the tipping the scales all the way to the other side is, wow, thank goodness they don't need Anthony Robinson to score 10 plus points if they can get these games out of Jayden Stone and Trent Pierce. That's my reverse overreaction of how Ant played. But I think he took a necessary step, to the side offensively and let some other guys, kind of eat that had the hot hand.
Yeah, maybe you do readjust the expectations with Stone being just an absolute coup that, I expected maybe best case scenario. I called him like a wild card, all off season, that maybe he could be a decent scoring option off the bench. Certainly not a 22 point or consistent 15 plus a game starter for you. I don't think anybody imagined that. But yeah, I think you need one of Mitchell or Ant to really kind of carry the load at least. And Mitchell is just such a nightmare for everyone to guard. It really is ridiculous to see.
I want to do a Mitchell minute. That was going to be not an actual minute, but I was going to call it a Mitchell minute because I'm giving him my game MVP
right
for this, despite.
You're not going to hear much of an argument from me, but yeah, you get 20 or something like that from one of Ant or Mitchell, so long as you get 40 combined from Stone or Pierce or whatever combination, another 13 from T.O. Barrett. Yeah, I guess you don't really need Ant to step up and give you 15. Certainly would make things easier if Ant and Mitchell kind of would carry the load and have the rest fall in behind them. But they certainly, with Pierce looking like this and Stone being back in the fold, they're much more dynamic. I think Cruz is a guy capable of kind of popping a big game for you as well. I don't really think I'd rely on too many others for that role, but I definitely don't think that it's shifted a bit to where I do think as long as one of Mitchell or Ant are going, they're still capable of winning some pretty big ball games.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. With the thinness that it looks like this rotation is taking to, which is a testament to, I think, Dennis Gates' growth. We saw Luke Northweather play 2 minutes. They were atrocious for Mizzou as a whole, and then he didn't play the rest of the game. Nicholas Randall, they threw him out there for 4, gave him a shot. Didn't work. Didn't play the rest of the game. And they tightened it up. My Mitchell minute, not actually a minute long, but it is so it was so painfully obvious that Auburn just had no answers for him. And it's not necessarily a slander for Auburn. A lot of teams just have no answers for him. They you send help. It's almost like Hardy. He just disappears between two guys and just emerges upward and the ball just goes in. Sometimes he gets a foul call. Sometimes he doesn't. It's probably almost better if he doesn't because he shot 6 for 14 from the free throw line. Missouri, by the way, 67.7% from the line. Okay, that perk your ears up for some reason. But he's just so awesome. I texted the group chat with you guys. I had the thought that does he just maybe do like how Aaron Donald would train with like people like trying to stab him with knives? I think Mark Mitchell does the equivalent of that, where he just puts a literal wall of cinder blocks like 5 feet away from the rim and just learns how to like navigate through and around it and just bulldoze his way to the rim. It is awesome, and I just want to continue to appreciate it while he's still here for the rest of this season. Because, yeah, I mean, you talked about it, Payton. He can absolutely go out and win you a game. Again, maybe not from the free throw line, but it was so obvious that Auburn just couldn't. They couldn't guard him one-on-one. They just couldn't do it. They had to send a double. They had to send help. They had to overcommit, and that leads to opportunities for threes from guys like, Trent Pierce and Jayden Stone and others. So that's my Mitchell minute.
In conference play, Mark Mitchell from the field has gone 7 for 13, 7 for 9, 7 for 15, 5 for 14. That'll do it.
That'll do it. That will do it. Missouri, by the way, 56% from the field, 47.4% from three. They started 1 for 10 in this game.
1 for 11.
1 for 11 and totally pulled out of it and reversed course and figured it out. This was a nice win. We'll see how they keep the momentum going. Who do they have next, Kenny? Do you know off the top of your head? Because I don't.
They have LSU on Saturday. I don't know what time and
Thank
what
you.
network.
It is 2:30 on SEC Network, and it is on the road in
That's a
Baton
tough one.
Rouge.
LSU took a devastating loss against Kentucky the night we're recording this. They're 0-4. Metrics like them a lot more than that. It's on the road. They're going to be desperate. That's a tough one. That's going to be very similar to Ole Miss, except I think LSU is a better team than Ole Miss.
They are 43rd in KenPom, a whole 40 ahead of Mizzou.
Yeah, they're way underperforming what they're supposed to be.
I think Missouri moved up. Hold on.
Missouri is up to
Missouri's
55 in
I was
orbit.
thinking, when I said 40, I was thinking of their defensive rating still, not their overall. They're 54th. Yes. Behind TCU, who everyone seems to dislike, except for me. I'm a frog. I'm all in on the Hypnotoad. That team's fun.
They lost to New Orleans, dog.
I don't know. Or I don't care. They beat Florida. Breaking news?
So did Missouri.
Kenny? Breaking news?
Breaking news. Former Missouri quarterback Jake Garcia plans to enter the transfer portal, or has entered the transfer portal, according to Pete Nakos of On3.
I swore this happened like weeks ago.
This is an easy.
I didn't even know.
You just burned.
How is this possible?
I thought he was out of eligibility by now.
I would have thought that as well. What prediction? Where is Jake Garcia's next stop? He should go to Incarnate Word.
Honestly, why would anyone take him?
He should go to Incarnate Word and compete with TJ Finley. Imagine that could be rude. Maybe one of them will become the number 1 pick. It's happened before. Yeah. Thank you for that breaking news, Kenny. All right, that's your Auburn recap. LSU is up next. We'll see how it goes. January 17th on the SEC Network. We are going to take a break. When we come back, it'll be a 2-man show the rest of the way. Kenny and Payton are going to talk some transfer portal happenings for the Tigers.
And now for something completely different.
All right, continuing on the unwritten rule. It's just going to be Payton and I for this segment, just talking about Mizzou transfer portal, and we'll close up the show with quick hits after this. Payton, latest commitments. I was just talking with you, trying to figure out, because I feel like this is where our brains are, of, when was the last commitment on the last show. So I'm going to run through them. I'll do it in pairs of 2s. I think that's kind of a fair thing to do. And then you just pick, what you want to say about each guy. I'll start with Dante Simpson, coming over from Miami with 3 years of eligibility. He was looking for a place where he could get developed, but also play pretty quickly. It's hard to break through at Miami, but he still played in enough games to burn his red shirt in his freshman year. He's going to come in and be a part of that defensive tackle room. I think in another world, in the perfect world, you're looking for a Chris McClellan type. You're looking for a guy that probably has 2 or 3 years of eligibility, coming over from Florida, and has been an impact player already in the SEC. It's a little bit different. Of course, Dante Simpson played on a team that's going to be in the national championship game here in the coming days. He's not going to be a part of that team, but Mizzou pulled him away from Texas A&M and Texas and SMU. There were some schools in there that were looking at him at the Power 4 level. They keep him around. Also on that defensive side of the ball is Kevin Tooley. This one was a little bit of a surprise. It feels more like, one of those final roster spots. He's very familiar with Brian Early, committed to him out of high school at Tomball in the Houston area. So part of that original Sac Ave guys with the Cougars. He's going to come in, primarily going to be one of your special teams guys. That's what he did when he was at Houston. He earned a scholarship this past fall. I think that's probably the best case for him, and just be kind of experienced edge depth if they really need to lean deeper into that room.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you because it's starting to get kind of dire in regards to needs. Simpson's a good ad. I do like that. Certainly a guy that a freshman from Miami is enticing in some ways. Again, we've seen them a lot of the time back in 2023, they just had 4 guys they rotated in and out at the D tackle spot that were all very effective in their own ways. One of them was a Miami transfer in Realist George. So that's kind of fun. That's going to require a leap from Simpson, though. He just didn't have any real production last year. I am glad Missouri kind of padded some depth into the D tackle room because I think it's kind of overlooked. I don't think they're going to be getting a Chris McClellan at this point. So you kind of got to go by committee there. Hope Gracial and Jalen Marshall can kind of take steps forward and maybe have Sam Williams break into that mix as well. And Tully, no disrespect, but it would not shock me if this is the last time we kind of talk about him. Definitely just seems like pure depth.
I took a shot in the dark and I said maybe he'll be the Logan Monkey, the special teams captain. I know he hasn't been around. Like, it only be 1 year at Missouri. He seems very experienced. Seems like a blue collar guy. So if that works out, you got an experienced leader on special teams. I think that's just one positive. That's going to be a unit that's going to have a lot of eyes on it this year. With John Papuchis taking over, you're looking to overhaul that entire unit and just get things in the right direction. Not bad to bring in an experienced guy to do it. Speaking of special teams, Bruno Reese comes over from Florida State. He's a combo kicker, punter, primarily going to be your punter is my expectation, and maybe do a lot of kickoffs. He took 7 in 4 games, so he retained a red shirt in his freshman year at Florida State. All 7 were touchbacks. We know Missouri has had a history of not being able to get many touchbacks. I thought, who was the transfer from Florida Memorial? Who came in for Oliver Robbins. He was fine, I think, in certain stretches with kickoffs. But one of those things, you're trying to negate returns. And, if Bruno Reese can do that for you, and you can just worry about Blake Craig just handling field goals and extra points to start the year as he comes back from that knee injury, I think you're in a good spot. Missouri also added UConn transfer Nick Evers. This will be his 4th stop in his career. Former top 100 recruit in the 2022 class. That's Sam Horn's class. He was about 6 spots ahead of him in the QB rankings that year. The expectation, of course, you're not planning to have Sam Horn back. He does have another year of eligibility. You're also looking at a guy that has an opportunity to just go to the Dodgers right now and start spring training this spring. So you get experience back up there. And I spoke with Nick. It sounds like he's very content with his opportunity. They talked about meritocracy with him. And that, you're going to go into that room and just compete and make the guys better at the same time. Those guys have to earn their spots. Someone has to earn the backup spot between him and Matt Zollers, most likely, with Austin Simmons being your starter. What do you kind of take of these 2 additions, Payton?
Well, Kenny, on Reese now seems like as good a time as any to address the elephant in the room. There's been a special teams coordinator change, Kenny. It's over. Finally, after 6 years, Missouri is free of the curse that was Eric Link. I can speak totally freely about this now. He took a job at New Mexico. Just abysmal special teams play for 6 years. Really lost Missouri just a lot of games. It felt like 2022. Kentucky is always the one that pops into my mind. This year, it really bottomed out. What a joy to finally have that change be made, because it's been something we've been talking about for 4 years. Just an entire tone shift needed to happen in that special teams room. And let's talk about Bruno Reese, because I assume, Kenny, correct me if I'm wrong, he is going to he's pretty much a Papuchis. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's how I've
Papuchis.
been saying it.
Yeah, Papuchis guy. Papuchis, of course, is likely, I'd assume, to be the special teams coordinator. So
Yes.
he's bringing his punter along. I don't really care about the backup kicker spot. They should just tell Blake Craig to run off the field immediately after kickoffs until the end of the time. Don't ever have your kicker try and make a tackle again. But Bruno, I have no idea how good he is. It really can't be much worse than the slop we were watching the last few years. Luke Bauer, he had the touchdown pass. That was an electric moment. But other than that, I mean, the actual punting from the unit has just been horrible for a good long time now. So I hope Reese is able to kind of come in and stabilize that. Nick Evers, kind of just basically a Drew Pine clone. Really, if you have to see Evers play, it's probably not a good sign. Or they're already up 40 on a mid-major. But there it is. The main headline there, Eric Link is gone. Sorry to be mean, but the guy was just a pretty drop-dead terrible coach for a good number of years here.
I think it was better too that Eric Link kind of finished out his contract. It was set to expire at the end of the month. He took a job at New Mexico, just kind of parting ways. I know he has a good relationship with Drinkwitz. I bet it's very hard for Drinkwitz to kind of cut some staffers at times, especially when you have a good relationship with them. You've been around them for so long. Link was tied with, I guess this is the right way to say it, he was tied with Curtis Looper as the longest tenured staffer from that first.
I guess now Looper is now the one.
And people are saying, don't change that. Don't make it, Alpo. Don't make it, I guess Jacob Peeler would be the next longest tenured among that group. So you want to keep Looper as long as possible. But I think it was for the best that, you move on different ways. You didn't have to make a big deal about firing Link. Just let the contract expire, let him drop down a level, let him figure it out as special teams. Missouri moves forward. Bruno as well. I know some people want to point out he didn't punt last year in his freshman year at Florida State. This is different than Connor Wesselman. This is different than some of the other ones. Connor Wesselman lost his job at Stanford, and he still was in a good mindset, being the holder and sticking around. Just didn't work out at Missouri. I mean, effectively, the punt numbers weren't the best. But with Bruno, he was the number one combo according to Cole's professional camps in the 2025 class. I keep saying combo. I hope people know that means like kicker, punter. Like he was doing both. And he was excelling at both. He's from Brazil originally. He didn't play football until his freshman year of high school. He even told me it took him a couple of flags to figure out what was going on in the games because the kicking just came naturally. I mean, he's a soccer background. He was pretty good at just kicking footballs. Just didn't really know how to play with how it worked. But I mean, he's an incredible athlete. He was an Under Armour game All-American in the 2025 class. So that's 3 specialists for Missouri that were Under Armour All-America game players, Payton. So I think that's a good spot to be in for this special teams unit. Moving forward, 2 more commitments. And we'll talk about Mose Phillips in quick hits. If you're watching with us on YouTube and you see him, and passed by Beau Pribula as well, we'll talk about him then as well. But 2 defensive backs, both corners. Elijah Dotson comes over from Michigan, and Sione Luale, who's a little bit of I wouldn't say a wild card, but wasn't expecting this one. It actually happened. I was telling Jack about this, Payton. It happened while I was recording the Mizzou Today podcast, and I was like, we were not expecting it at all. We weren't ready for it. It's one of the first times it's happened because usually you have a good feeling about when these things will happen. And he visited Friday and Saturday this past week. What do you kind of make of that cornerback duo?
It's kind of interesting. Dotson's a fun one. I mean, he was a big-time recruit. Another Belleville, Michigan guy. I believe him and Beasley are both from there. So that is interesting. Luale, is that how you pronounce Luale?
Yeah, I'll go listen to it right now if they have it on his Oregon profile. And let you know.
I mean, 6'4". I mean, like 6'3.5". I mean, very large corner. I always like that kind of size and speed, but again, you hear Drink say things like production over potential, and that has just really largely not been what this portal has been. And again, I think people took that too literally. I honestly wish Drink had never said it because obviously I don't think it's realistic to go pure production over potential every year. but we are kind of running into a space where, yeah, they've gotten 3 corners, but none of them are guys that really were big-time contributors last year, and I think that's going to be a little scary, you know? You point at Dre Norwood, who wound up sticking around Mizzou for what, 3-4 years? He came in after his freshman season at A&M, but he was kind of brought along slowly. You know, he was the CB3 behind 2 NFL corners, the best cornerback duo in Missouri history, I'd have to imagine. So it didn't happen overnight, but now, I mean, they lost so much in the portal at corner, they had to just bring in numbers. But I was hoping to see at least one guy that had starting experience. Again, I like Dotson. I think he's a very fun addition. Luale has very intriguing size, but just kind of was hoping for a little more in that room.
Yeah, I think from the standpoint of looking back, I think was that the 2022 season when he came over from Texas A&M.
I think he was here 4 years.
Yeah, so there was kind of like an instant impact in the sense that he was always in that conversation. You know, he was among the 3 or the 4 guys. I think Dotson it's a little bit of a different case. I think there's a little bit more production there from him. The expectations might be a little bit higher than Dre Norwood when he first came in, because this cornerback room looks completely different than when Dre Norwood came in and played for that Missouri team, which, like you said, had 2 future NFL corners on it. Then you had a guy from Miami as well who was pretty good at the time and kind of got overlooked. But I think
from that, Marcus Clark just get brought up?
Marcus Clark the second. I think it's interesting too when you get 2 corners from Oregon, with Jaleel Florence getting tied in there as well. There's good familiarity there. With Sione, I think it's a case of you get a lot of experience. I was told he only has 1 year of eligibility. I know there's a JUCO rule. He did redshirt in his first year at Oregon, so possibility of 2 years. A Missouri source told me it should be 1, but if anything changes, I'll correct myself in a later show. You get in this little duo right here, you get 2 guys that can be impact players. They'll play, probably in every game next year, if I had to guess. And one of them will have 3 years of eligibility remaining, and one will have 1. I think you're in a fine spot at cornerback. I think the best world, you'd want 1 more starter, but I think that's the best way to pivot on this one, Payton. I mean, what are the final needs for you? The transfer portal closes Friday at midnight, but teams can still add players. But enrollment starts this weekend as well. And next weekend, I think it's next week at some point is the last time you can drop classes. I think it's the end of the week.
Yeah, I think they have more needs than they're going to be able to reasonably fill. I don't see a world where they wind up coming out even with where they were at edge rusher. I think they need like 2 guys there, in my mind, one of which absolutely a starter. I'd still like to see a legit possible like starter brought in at one of the O-line spots. It can be an interior guy, it can be a tackle, but I'd still like to see more bodies in that room. I'd like to, in an ideal world, you'd get 1 more receiver with a bit of a track record. I kind of like what they've done there with Goody, with just the 2 younger additions as well. Well, not Horatio Fields isn't young, but the 2 other additions as well. But you'd still maybe like an alpha there. I don't think they're going to wind up getting it. I don't know that I'd trust Alubade as a true sophomore to step up and be a bona fide wide receiver 1, but I acknowledge that is pretty unlikely to happen at this point in the portal. Still would like to see 1 more corner, maybe a safety, maybe 1 more D tackle. There's just I don't think they have enough right now, and I don't think there's enough in the portal to reasonably fill it. So it's kind of just going to be picking and choosing at this point.
It's so tough to evaluate it too on what this team will look like. I mean, they can expect, big steps from Jalen Marshall in his final year. Did play a lot more down the stretch. We also didn't really break into that starting rotation, of course, for the defensive tackles when you have Chris McClellan still in the fold at the end of the year. I don't know if they're banking on, any extra eligibility to come in as well. Cause probably a couple of guys that probably don't have the best opportunities at the NFL or even like signing with the team after. I don't really know. I mean, I think we're just going to have to wait and really just evaluate this roster once the transfer portal is closed, once guys are already enrolled on campus, and we can do like a big overview on this roster, Payton. But any final thoughts just on the transfer portal, just as it comes to a close here on Friday night?
Kind of ready for it to be over. It's been hard. I'll be honest, it's been largely disappointing. I liked that they got Simmons right away. Simmons, to me, is still the most exciting ad. Not even just because he's a quarterback, but just because he's like it feels like the first time Drink really got his top option out of the portal at QB. Woodyard is a good, productive player. But other than that, it's a lot of banking on things to go right. I'm not sure Missouri has done enough, to be honest with you. And it's a little disappointing, but not trying to be negative. I still think Missouri will be fine going forward, and I think we got very spoiled by how well they did in the last couple of years. But just a bit underwhelmed as of now.
And I don't think you're in a boat by yourself, too, Peyton. I think it's fair to have those concerns and looking at the roster, not thinking it might be deep enough, not thinking to replace the impact and then the starters it lost. But before we head over to quick hits, maybe we'll end here on a high note, some pronunciation. I did find it, Peyton. So it is Sione, and then it is Laulea.
Laulea. Okay.
So Sione Laulea. We'll get that down too as we talk about the next season. But before we wrap up the show, we'll throw it over to quick hits. It'll just be Jack and I.
All right, quick hits time. We are back to, I guess, the past from when we're recording this, from when you and Peyton do the football segment. But we're continuing the two-man second portion of the show. It's now Kenny and I. Kenny, how do you think your discussion with Peyton is going to go? Because you're recording that later today on Thursday. How do you think the transfer recap's going to go?
It went well. Went great.
Do you think it went well?
Yeah, hopefully there weren't any surprises during it.
Oh, yeah, true.
We recorded the Mizzou Today show on Wednesday, and the second Oregon cornerback committed. Nothing ready. That was like the first time we didn't have anything on that guy.
Brutal. Got to pause.
Well, we talked about him. Peyton and I did.
It's like the yeah, there you go. It's like the SpongeBob, the clip where it's hit all the little SpongeBob's in his brain and everything's on fire. They're running around. Well, maybe we'll get some breaking news, but hopefully for your sake, we don't during this quick hit segment. Jerseys of the week. Would you like to give your jersey of the week this week?
My jersey of the week goes to Mose Phillips III, Missouri safety. Entered the transfer portal on the anti-penultimate day that the transfer portal was open. So he entered on Wednesday. The final day is Friday. Recording here on Thursday. That would make it penultimate. So it was anti-penultimate. Still got my fastball, Jack. But the former Virginia Tech. Huh?
Defenestrate.
I'm still learning that one. Missouri had Mose Phillips for one season. He really provided a lot of depth just at the safety position. Saw a really high uptick in snaps. I believe he had 20 snaps per game across the past three contests. But he entered the transfer portal. Missouri's up to 9 safeties now with him gone on the scholarship chart, which is what they rolled with when they went into the 2025 season. It just feels like, Mo's going to go somewhere else for that final year of eligibility. I wouldn't say maybe he's recruited over, but they really bolstered that safety room more than maybe many would have expected. And that was in part to losing a starter in Marvin Burks Jr. And then moving on from there, you're getting a lot of guys that have more eligibility, probably a little bit of a higher upside, someone like Jadon Blair or Kensley from Auburn. There's some good talent and versatility in that room now. And it just felt like the more that some of those re-signings were announced by Mizzou football, it was trending in the direction Mose Phillips might be one of those late entries.
Yeah, that you make a good point. I feel like they are kind of betting on, especially a guy like Blair with the upside that maybe he could bring long term. Yeah, and if you're Mose Phillips with where your career is at now, you want to find a place to go play. So not totally shocking, but yeah, I mean, I would have been without those signings. I would have been quite nervous for Mizzou at the safety position without the likes of Mose Phillips and Marvin Burks. If you told me that they were just transferring in a vacuum and we didn't know who Mizzou was potentially bringing in. So yeah, there you go. We'll see where he winds up. Do you want to give Peyton's jersey of the week? since
Yeah, Payton's jersey of the week. Auburn, Missouri cornerback, staying in the SEC. This one was a little bit surprised when I first learned that Mark Manfred was entering the transfer portal. The cornerback room didn't really have many players to begin with. I think at one point it was down to 4 at the least amount of scholarship cornerbacks on the roster. And 2 of those guys were incoming freshmen, one of them being an early enrollee in Jackson Gates. But Mark Manfred into the portal. He's going to stay in the SEC. He's going to Kentucky. I didn't really know what to expect for a guy who didn't play much, going into the transfer portal. He was, pretty heavily recruited for a 3-star out of Georgia, had some good offers. I remember talking to him when LSU offered him back 2 or 3 years ago now, and I was still doing that. And just another kind of guy to keep an eye out for once Missouri and Kentucky play each other again.
Yeah. I mean, it is always weird when these guys don't play that much. You just almost, do you really reevaluate them as a high school player? You have to look at, I guess, why they didn't get that much time as a freshman. But yeah, good for him sticking in the SEC. So Mizzou will see him again. My jersey of the week is going to go to Nate Noel. Spoiler alert, we're going to have a few of these because the UFL free agent draft happened over the last couple of days. I think the first round was a few days ago, and then they just did the second round. But Nate Noel, I was picked in the second round by the Birmingham Stallions, so good to see him sticking around football, and we'll see how he does in the UFL season. I know we have more of these. You have another one. Can I say the other Mizzou specialist? Should I lump him in, or do you want to? Let me do the main bird because there was a third one.
There was a third one? Oh, yeah, just lump him into the main bird.
The other guy is my guy, Tucker McCann. Shout out the 2019 Mizzou Tigers. He was their kicker. And he's actually coming back to Missouri. He is staying home in St. Louis. He's going to be a Battle Hawk. The graphic that they posted, it's like the same as this one if you're watching on the YouTube, but they did use him as their specialist, recap photo, which was very exciting. It's him in a Mizzou jersey. So he's another one. We'll be kicking for the Battle Hawks.
They might have done that because he was the only one that had a photo on Imogen. I imagine. I think that's probably the case.
That's a good point. That's maybe a good point. But you get some free clicks with using a Mizzou guy. So yeah, him and Nate Noel are
I like no cap, he's the main bird.
You're Sean East. Kenny, who's another guy playing in the UFL?
Kiki Chisholm, wide receiver for Missouri. I think Kiki was always just a fun one because he did switch from quarterback to wide receiver when he transferred from San Angelo, which I believe is the Rams. So there's no bird connection there. I'm going to go with the bird connection of it being the Columbus Aviators. This has to be a new UFL team. I've never heard of this one, but this is a new one. Good for Kiki to keep kicking it around in professional football. He was with the Packers during the summer after his final year at Missouri in 2022. It would have been the summer of 2022. So he's been bouncing around a little bit. That's 4 years now. Wow, that's crazy coming up this summer. But Kiki Chisholm, I think that 2021 season is probably when you remember him the most. There wasn't too many highlights in that season, but he did have some good plays, especially in the Armed Forces Bowl.
October 7th, 2025 was when the Columbus Aviators were founded. Do you want to take a guess who their head coach is? This is quite fun. I think
the head coaches in this league, I wouldn't say it's a joke, but it is pretty funny. Some of these guys, they just don't even know why they're taking these jobs. But who is it?
It's Ted Ginn Jr. He's their head coach.
Do you know is the Birmingham Stallions? Is that their correct name?
Is it AJ McCarron?
It is AJ McCarron, yes.
Jeez.
And he drafted Rodrigo Blankenship, the kicker who used to wear the specs for Georgia.
Yep. Hot Rod. Yeah, AJ McCarron's their head coach. That is so funny. They need to do the NFL coaching photo. I know Pardon My Take always scrutinizes that. They need to do that with the UFL just to have all of those funny names together for who's going to be a UFL head coach. That is quite fun.
The quarterback names are always the best, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think they did it in waves. They had 3 quarterbacks going at once per team. You were just loading up on your quarterbacks. It's just fun to kind of pick through those names.
Oh, absolutely. The quarterback name. AJ McCarron was playing for the Battle Hawks 2 years ago or last year.
Yeah.
It's as recent as that. Yeah, very funny. I'm sure we'll have more UFL content. Payton's main bird. It's going to be Brooks Koepka, some golf talk. I'm actually sad Payton can't provide more context to this because I feel bad. I haven't read into this as much, but Brooks Koepka I forgot he texted his bird connection. Let me pull that up. But Brooks Koepka is coming back to the PGA. He was with Liv. So I think he's incurring a fine, but I think he's joining the tour like right away this spring when all the events start happening. Here you go. Oh, this is boring. He's trying to get birdies and eagles on the PGA Tour again, unquote. That's his bird connection. Thank you, Payton. It's well said. But yeah, he's back from Liv. So I know he said it's kind of, he wanted to be like closer to his family and things like that. Yeah, I don't know too much more details wise, but I guess it's kind of a win for the PGA in that whole fiasco. So I don't know.
Is this like Darth Vader taking his helmet off and he's just Anakin again? He's just not the pale,
maybe. I know Rory McIlroy said some stuff about like who they could sign, and of course he's been very vocal about the PGA still being strong even after all these guys jumped to Live. That's a whole thing. I don't know how many golf fans are watching, but we're not going to probably do it very good justice in terms of the situation. But yeah, Brooks Koepka back on PGA. And Payton can yell at me if I miss some big detail about that, in addition to just the fact that he's joining. My main bird of the week, it's going to be John Harbaugh, of course, former Baltimore Raven. Bird connection there, but he's no longer a Baltimore Raven, Kenny. He's the New York Giants head coach, per Adam Schefter. John Harbaugh and the Giants are working to finalize an agreement to make him the head coach of the G-Men. Any thoughts on this? I feel like it's kind of a fun hire for, if you're a Giants fan. I mean, I know it felt like it ran its course in Baltimore, but feels like it could work. Him and Jackson Dart, fun pairing maybe.
I think in a perfect world, or I'm going to say a perfect world, but a funny world was the Steelers and the Ravens just trading head coaches. When they had the press conference with the Ravens ownership, they brought it up to, I think it was the owner, not just the GM, that, hey, Mike Tomlin just resigned as head coach of the Steelers, and his eyes kind of lit up. You can kind of tell, like, I think he made a joke of, what if we just swapped coaches, and kept this rivalry going? I think this is fun. I think it's stability for the New York Giants. There really hasn't been stability over these last couple of years. Maybe this kind of goes in the right direction of trying to win 10 plus games each season. And, it's maybe can be a little bit tough depending on what the trajectory of the Eagles are, trying to get over that hump. There's a good young quarterback in Washington. I know it wasn't the best year for Jayden Daniels and that crew, but, if he's healthy again, that's a team that's made it to the NFC title game. So I think it's going to be a fun division. Don't really know, maybe the trajectory of the Cowboys either. Jack's getting older each year.
They might lose
but I think it's a fun division. I think one of the fun things about the NFC East is that it's just never made sense to me.
No.
I think there's a couple of years there where you get the Giants, we're winning some, going up against the Patriots, dethroning Goliath. And, not letting the Patriots have a full, perfect season. And they've done it twice. It wasn't a full perfect season the second time, but still, dethroning Tom Brady. Overall, I think it'll be a fun hire. And you get Jackson Dart with, Harbaugh brother. See what happens on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's a good fit. I think it's a good, like you said, it's kind of the stability thing. Like that felt like really what the Giants, frankly, and the Jets probably need as their head coaches. So I think it'll work. It'll be interesting. They're going to get Malik Neighbors back too. Like that's the other thing. I mean, he got hurt, missed all of last season. He was, he'll be a good target. And Scadaboo, Harbaugh and Scadaboo, going to use him like Derrick Henry. I don't know. So there you go. Harbaugh is a Giant. There you go. Oh, I thought you had one more thing. Payton's best thing he learned this week. It is Mizzou Gymnastics. Mizzou Gymnastics takes first at the Emeritus Masters Classic. Mizzou Gymnastics is continuing to do Mizzou Gymnastics things. They are 4-0. They beat 3 opponents at this Masters Classic. Nebraska, who was ranked, and then they played 2 UW Wisconsin affiliate schools, or it's not UW Wisconsin, sorry, UW affiliate schools. UW Lacrosse and UW Stout. Shout out those two. As a Wisconsin native, it's funny to read those names. But yeah, kind of cruised, no problem for Mizzou Gym. A couple of the highlights: Hannah Horton, she won a title on the vault and the floor. Addison Lawrence had the top score on the beam, and Kamara Eccles top score on the uneven bars. 9925 for her. That was that bested. That is a new season best. 9975 for Horton on the vault. So Mizzou cruising. 11 of 24 routines had a 9-9 or higher, Kenny. So I think we are going to be in for another fun gymnastics season coming up.
A quote from Shannon Welker: "We had a really solid showing today in our first road meet of the year. I thought we took a really solid step forward. There's still plenty we can clean up, but the fight and belief this team showed is what excites me the most."
And in typical gymnastics fashion, they now face number 2 Oklahoma, number 2 Alabama, or number 4 Alabama, and then LSU, who they also list as ranked number 2. I assume they're using maybe the highest of whatever multiple outlets. Yeah. I still have to learn the gymnastics rankings system, but everyone in the SEC is really good, which is nothing new. But there you go.
Nebraska was 24 coming into this event, right?
Yes, they were ranked as well. So, but they go beyond 25 because Mizzou they have Ball State and Air Force on their schedule, and they are 44 and 38. So I don't know how long it goes. But then they faced Iowa State, rather, who are receiving votes. So I don't know when the rankings end. Maybe it's top 50. But Mizzou gymnastics cruising. We will have plenty of content as that season continues. What did you learn, Mr. Kenny?
Best thing I learned this week, we mentioned Beau Pribula's worldwide tour and all the visits he was taking. Well, he's ending up at Virginia. And the one thing I want to point out about this, have we ever seen a quarterback opt out of the bowl game, announce his intentions to enter the transfer portal a couple weeks before it opened, then going to the team that beat your previous school in a bowl game that you didn't play in? I think that's one of the first times I've ever seen this. I think it's a lot of fun. This will be team number 3 for Beau Pribula, but it feels like it should be team number 7 at this point. There were so many, ways that he was shifting this offseason. He went and visited Washington during the Demond Williams fiasco that was going on if he was going to get pulled into the transfer portal. He visited Nebraska. He was on visit lists for Georgia Tech and Tennessee. Virginia Tech as well, with some of his former coaches being there. Of course, Penn State was thrown out there as an option, but they get Rocco Beck, who's coming over with everyone else from Iowa State. Just told everyone to halt for a second and get on the same plane so they can save some fuel. But overall, I think this is a good, final destination for Beau to I wouldn't say drop down a level. He's going to play in the ACC, but gets to still play in the Power 4 to wrap up his college career.
Yeah, hey, they won more games than Mizzou last year, so what does that say? But yeah, I'm excited. I really hope it can, kind of work out. He clearly, went through a lot of growing pains last year and in his first kind of full year as a starter. And so hopefully he can internalize all that stuff and kind of work out the kinks, because he is a good player. He definitely had some good moments, and I'll be rooting for Beau Pribula still. I'm a positive soul at heart. I root for most of the guys wherever they go, unless it's like Arkansas. So there you have it. Kenny. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's fun to follow it too. Like the former guys, like the Ja'Kai Langs of the world, where it really just, you don't knock on the player as much. Of the opportunity wasn't there. It's always fun to note them. But who doesn't like doing that is Facebook. Do not post stories about former Mizzou Tigers and how they're performing elsewhere, because those Facebook commenters would not be very happy. I know that from experience.
Facebook commenters, a lot of them just aren't very happy, are they? Just kind of in general. I don't know. Sorry, that's maybe generalizing, but I don't know. Facebook's an interesting social media service. All right, best thing I learned. So it's just bracketology is the best thing I learned. And
no.
What?
Why are we on Reddit for this?
Because I liked the title that just says the Fox bracketology update feels bonkers. I just thought the headline was funny. Is that it? You could pull up another.
No, I just think it's hilarious that we're on Reddit, and it kind of just shows that none of us have a Reddit account when it says log in for the people who are on Facebook, so we just don't go on this.
Yeah, I picked it because, frankly, I think it's the Reddit college basketball thread, but frankly, I kind of think it's accurate. So bracketology is my best thing I learned. Here's why. Fox put out their bracketology recently, I think 2 days ago, or maybe I guess on Tuesday or Monday. And Missouri is in it in a way. They were put in the last 4 in, and Fox had them going to Dayton to face Indiana, which is already kind of wild. I don't think Missouri is a tournament team yet. This bracket also had Nebraska as a number 1 seed, which Kenny, of course, as you now know, they're still undefeated, but there are a lot of very, very good teams. I looked at about 5 or 6 other outlets for their bracketology to kind of compare and contrast this, both for Mizzou, but also I did look. No one else has Nebraska as a number 1 seed. Most of them, frankly, had them as a 3 seed, which to me validates the Fox bracketology update. Feels bonkers. But here are my findings, Kenny, for Mizzou. We are 4 games in SEC play. I do think the bracketology, at least for me, who's a nerd, starts to get interesting. USA Today and ESPN, nowhere to be found. Not even in the first 4 out, next 4 out. NA for Mizzou for both of those services. That's Joe Lenardi, by the way. On3 does have Mizzou as the first 4 out. They released their own bracketology on Thursday morning when we're recording this. First 4 out. Fox, as I mentioned, has them playing Indiana and Dayton. There was one more outlet, Kenny, that included Missouri in their bracketology. CBS has them also as a last 4 team in playing UCLA in Dayton. That bracket also came out on Thursday following Mizzou's win over Auburn. So some rumblings, goes back to our preseason conversations of the national media seems to continue to like Mizzou a lot more than the locals do. I think the best contextualization of that, when you look at CBS's last 4 in right now, they go by the net rankings. The other 3 teams were all in the 40s. Missouri is 64th. They had Missouri in the tournament, in the field, over Georgia and St. Mary's, who are teams ranked 33rd and 28th in the net, respectively. So I don't know what it is, but there's some more national media love for Mizzou in the bracket world.
And that's where my mind went. I meant to ask you this when we did our recap of the Auburn game.
Yeah.
We know that Missouri immensely underperformed in non-conference slate against, a very easier non-conference slate. Of course, those losses come against high major teams. But at that same time, I feel like Missouri's besting our expectations in SEC play that we set at the beginning of the year, even before we saw these struggles in non-conference play. And I wonder where that goes, with the national kind of mindset around Missouri, because even before the issues in non-conference, they were very high on them. Then it just fell off. They fell off. Of course, Missouri needed to be off of any list that anyone was writing. And now Missouri's just back in it, just in that first 4 out. I even pulled up the On3 bracketology as well. First 4 out was Texas, San Diego State, and Virginia Tech.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't really know where it comes from. I will clarify. They are 64th in net. The net rankings have not been updated since January 14th. So that was before Mizzou played Auburn. So they'll probably climb a little bit for that win. Although it does have them at 13-4, which is isn't that what they are after that? Or are they 14-4 now? I think they might be 14-4 now. I will check, but yeah, it's weird. No, they're 13-4. So maybe it is counting that game. I don't know. It does say January 14th. Maybe they did it late night after that ended. But yeah, I don't have an answer for you. I mean, these things are strange. It feels like, especially with the bubble these days, you always have these teams that seemingly should have no business being in the NCAA tournament, specifically high majors, that end up sneaking in because they're high majors. Maybe Missouri becomes the team that gets the benefit of that this year. We'll see. But if they keep winning in SEC play, they'll make the tournament, Kenny. I mean,
tied for
it
first.
Is what it is. Tied for first
in the SEC.
Tied for first. I did appreciate a Lenardi tweet that said Missouri is going to be a pest to anyone that plays them, which I think is probably true. I think we can say that at this point. But yeah, them, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, A&M, and Florida are all 3-1 in SEC play. There you go. There's your bracket update. All right, Kenny, I do have a joke in lieu of Payton. Oh no, we got to do our best beats. Brought to you by FanDuel. So sorry. Football, NFL football. I'm trying to keep it out of my brain until Saturday, and then just so I can all my stress can just build up and be unleashed when the Seahawks play. Spoiler alert: they are not my best beat. Shout out to FanDuel for the lines as usual. Would you like to read Kenny's best or Peyton's best beat, or would you like me to?
Yeah, he said just give him anything Rams, whatever the Rams favored number is. So Rams 3.5 against his Bears on Sunday. This game is in Chicago. Yeah, because the
Yes, it is in
Rams,
Chicago.
Rams did not win. They're a wild card team. Did not win the West. Yeah, I think it's fair. I don't know how much more the Magic can run for this Bears team. They call them the cardiac Bears for a reason. They like to give you they like to make it tense near the end. And what a comeback against the Packers. But I think Payton is probably with majority of people playing a little bit more of a complete team in the Rams. Let's see how that kind of shakes out in the Bears' favor, especially when you're trying to win down the stretch. I did see a lot of sabermetrics and data out there saying that dome teams do not play well. The overall record, I think, was like 1-19. Man, I should even say that number. I don't even think that's right. But it's a really in favor of the home team when they play outdoors in the playoffs when it's sub 40. So Chicago does have that in its favor.
Yeah. My thing with this game, Matthew Stafford has thrown 8 interceptions all year. By the way, I am reading this off of another Reddit post. 2-15 according to Pro Football Reference. They're 2-15 in sub-freezing temperatures during the postseason. Domed teams. So yeah, it's a good record for Payton. Matthew Stafford's thrown 8 picks all year. The Bears defense feels like it kind of needs a turnover to sort of slow teams down. That said, I mean, Jordan Love didn't turn the ball over and they won the game, but did they really slow the Packers down? I mean, Brandon McManus slowed them down. Some special teams fumbles slowed them down, but Bears didn't even recover those. I don't know. I mean, as a fan of a different NFC West team, the Rams are extremely scary. I told Payton this as a Seahawks fan, if the Bears knocked off the Rams, I would still be more relieved because the Seahawks don't have to play the Rams, assuming they beat the 49ers. It's another issue, but yeah, I understand Payton for this stance. I'm sure he's going to root his ass off, but Rams are scary. Rams are scary, as they always are. Your best beat of the week. You've got your team involved in this one.
Yeah, I've been doing that the entire year, I think.
I know.
I'll even scroll up. I want to see make sure I got all my wins. Okay.
Segue.
I marked them. I'm going to take Patriots -3, and I say that there is more experience on this Texans team than years past. Of course, CJ Stroud has not missed the playoffs since being drafted by the Texans in 2023, so he has a lot of experience there. The Texans still haven't won a divisional round game. I think that's something that a lot of people know. There's got a lot of success in the wild card, 7-2 all time, but 0-6 in the divisional round, just haven't made it to the AFC Championship game yet. This could be the year. You're going up against more of an inexperienced guy in Drake May, but Drake May is playing MVP-like football right now, and then that's what he played the entire regular season. The Texans defense is a bunch of guys who just swarm the football. There's jokes that Jalen Petrie wears a Guardian cap to help others. He's not wearing it for his own sake. He's going to hit someone hard enough that he's trying to lessen the blow on them. It's a great defense. CJ Stroud's not playing good football, and that was very evident against the Steelers. No matter what the final score was in that one, there were too many turnovers, too many lapses with snaps, fumbles, passes just were overthrown. I want to believe in this Texans team to do it. I think the defense will have to score at least once or put the Texans in such a spot that CJ Stroud doesn't really have to, make a play to score in the red zone if they get a turnover. But I'm just going to roll with Patriots -3 in this one.
I have no idea. I kind of lean the way you're going. I think there is going to be a lot of conversations about Drake May and where he kind of stands, in the quarterback rankings, if he can go turnover free and kind of dot this Texans defense up, because they are going to come after him. They are going to pressure him. He's going to have to make some plays, no doubt about it. But I think I lean toward that versus, like you said, CJ Stroud and the offense kind of figuring it out enough to because Patriots don't have a bad defense either. There's no Nico Collins, I don't think, is going to play in this game. That worries me. Yeah, I just don't know if the Texans have quite enough juice. The Patriots defense is also decent as well. It'll be a close one, I think. But if Drake May has a really good game, I think there's going to be a lot of national narrative stuff about him with the likes of Mahomes and Lamar and Burrow and others not in the playoffs this year, for him to really skyrocket. Like, is he really a top 3 quarterback, even with these guys in the league? But defense wins championships, Kenny. That's the old adage. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm not continuing the theme. I'm not touching my team's game. I think you would be foolish to not bet the 49ers to cover a 7-point spread in the playoffs. I don't care how injured they are. That's my thought on that. I'm going with the Bills plus 1.5 over the Broncos. We talked about quarterbacks. I think Josh Allen is in a different mode right now. I think he is just seeing red when it comes to the AFC. He wants to get through it. And I'm really hoping that if there's one fraudulent 1 seed, I hope it's the Broncos. They have been, played a ton of 1-score games. They needed all these comebacks to beat good teams and bad teams. Maybe that helps them. I feel like historically, kind of like with the Bears, that run tends to end before the Super Bowl. I think Josh Allen's going to go in there and win. I have faith that the Bills are gonna get it done and meet the Patriots in the AFC Championship. What a game that would be, man! Little AFC East rivalry in the AFC Championship based on what we're projecting. But I guess even if the Broncos win, maybe the Bills cover. But I've got Buffalo.
We got to correct Payton real quick. He did say on the last show that no matter who wins, which game was it? He said something along the lines of if this team had won in the AFC wild card, then the Missouri Tigers would be represented no matter what. In a Super Bowl win is what he said, but it is just in the Super Bowl because no matter which team makes it from the NFC now, the Tigers will be represented.
Yes.
Case is not the same for the AFC.
Could be a good kind of sports shorts, maybe.
6 straight years. Maybe we'll do that. We'll have you name which Mizzou Tigers.
I got the Seahawks guy. That one at least we got locked in.
I see what you did there.
What? Oh, you know what? I didn't do it on purpose, but yes, I did for the people's sake. All right. I have a joke. It's not a call and response joke, unfortunately, Kenny. So it's just one I can tell, but Payton's not here, so I'm going to step up. This one does not come from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. It comes from an Instagram comment. Kenny, I tried talking to, I was out on a farm, and I tried talking to one of the cows the other day, but he wasn't in the mood. Get it? Mood.
Shout out Sarah Lemire.
Thank you, Sarah Lemire. So, yeah, she probably would have had a better joke cooked up. I saw that like 5 minutes before the show started, and I said, all right, tell them the joke on the air. Until next time, we will recap LSU. We'll have probably all of it on Sunday because we're going to work around all 3 of our favorite teams are in the divisional. We got to work around that. It just is what it is. So we will still have the LSU recap. We'll talk a little Mizzou women's basketball too. I feel so bad. I literally want to rank their start to conference play in the country with anybody's. It's absolutely ridiculous who they've had to play. So hopefully they can have some good fortune coming their way with more evenly matched games. So we will break that down, have some more transfer portal talk, I'm sure. So this has been the Unwritten Rule. Thank you everybody for listening, watching, subscribing. We've getting some great viewership on the YouTube. We really appreciate that. So keep tuning in there, keep tuning in, listening, watching, comment stuff if you want. We will see you next time.